It has been really a long time since we met. The last time we met was 2012.
Mm-hmm. Right? I think so. I think after the big earthquake happened.
That's right. That was in 2011.
Yeah, that was 2011.
Right. And then you called up, because that's when I was giving tours of this club. Mm-hmm. Except when you called up and I took you around.
Yeah.
Except when everybody was going, whoa, as you're coming through.
And I loved it. That was the first time I think I came inside.
It had to be, because I was giving a tour. No one had seen the place yet. Mm-hmm. They were outside, basically. Most of the people were just members. Mm-hmm. Well, Tiffany, I want to thank you, first of all, for being a part of this program, for coming here, because you have your own podcast now.
Yes, I do.
And you just started. And you started off with someone really, really famous in the Japanese community. What's her name?
Gao-chan. She's half Filipino, half British.
Right.
Where I started from my YouTube podcast. But with my podcast, I have it for 1 year already too. The audio podcast.
Oh, oh really?
I have an audio podcast.
Okay, so I just thought you just started okay, so
that was YouTube. That was for YouTube.
So you have how many episodes do you have?
I have like 69 episodes now on my podcast, on audio.
On the audio?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of subjects do you talk about?
I have a lot of influential guests talking about their experiences in life.
Okay.
And success and how they struggle and, like people can relate to. Mm-hmm. A lot from the health and wellness, the LGBTQ community.
You help that too, right? Mm-hmm. And also you're also doing life coaching as well?
That's the reason why I started my podcast, to be, to get people's trust, mm-hmm. to be there and because if you're a life coach, they don't really, I am certified, but it's not easy to be trusted by people mm-hmm. if you're not talking about what you really do in social media. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I thought about what's the best way to do it, and I came up with a podcast last year. And that's where it all started. And then I first thought about the YouTube, but remember last year, I'm sure you started your own YouTube channel.
I started mine last October. I sure did.
There was so many. Everyone has their own YouTube channel.
Everyone does. That's the hardest place to go. They say that the podcasting mm-hmm. is the easiest, and people listen to it. Mm-hmm. But YouTube, it's hard to wait through that. Everyone's there.
And all the people I know in Tokyo today, they're there. And I thought it'd be so competitive to be there and, get everyone's attention if I'm going to be there too. Mm-hmm. So I thought, why not start a podcast and try my, do my best to gain that confidence. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And once I have that confidence in speaking, then I'll be able to start YouTube or more visual. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's how I started my YouTube channel just recently, like last month.
And that's fantastic. You started, because you did part 1, part 2.
Yes.
I subscribed right away.
Thank you so
much. I did, yes.
You.
So you told me what you plan on doing with that. Of course, you're going to be doing counseling, and then of course you also coach people mm-hmm. when you're going through that. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in the Philippines, in Manila. Mm-hmm. I came here in Japan 7 years ago.
Really?
Long time ago.
Okay. So like when you were 2 or 3. Okay. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So I came here when I was 18.
Okay.
Because my mom, I was in college back in the Philippines, mm-hmm. and my mom told me that you should come to Japan, and because my mom was already here.
She was already here. Okay.
Yeah, because my mom came here when I was a very young age. I was 6, 7. Okay. She was already here, and me and my siblings grew up with my aunts and uncles, all our relatives. Mm-hmm.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2.
Okay.
One younger brother and one younger sister, and I have another one from my stepdad, Japanese.
Okay.
With my mom.
Just came here.
So we're all 4.
4 of you.
And I'm the oldest.
Okay.
And when my mom left the Philippines, I was about 7 when she left, mm-hmm. and we grew up with our aunts and uncles and relatives, grandpa and grandma. And we were everywhere because I've had such a rough childhood, not having our parents with us.
Right.
Yeah. So when my mom told me about when I was 18, she told me that you should come to Japan, or otherwise we'll not be able to adopt you, because there's a limit for adoption to be a family visa.
So her and her husband then?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so I have to decide, and I was still in college. I was second year college back in the Philippines, and I thought, if I lose this opportunity, I'm not going to be able to live in Japan. But then I didn't have any idea of what Japan is.
Okay.
In the Philippines.
Had you ever traveled outside the Philippines?
No.
Not at all.
That was
so
my
that's
first
all
time
you
traveling.
knew.
Yeah.
What kind of? Okay, let's go back a little bit before you get into that. What kind of sports did you like when you were young?
When I was young, I loved volleyball.
Okay.
I always play with my friends volleyball.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's also because I'm taller.
You always one of the taller kids in the class?
Yes, I'm always the tall, one of the tallest, and I'm always in the back. You know when you lined up,
right?
And then you like by height, and
right.
always
in the back. So you hated that.
Yeah.
How tall are you right now?
I'm 173, so
Okay.
it's like 5'8.5".
5'8.5". Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you like volleyball?
I love volleyball.
What other activities did you like?
I love dancing.
Okay.
So that's my other curricular activities when I was in school. So when I was in elementary, not elementary, I think it was already in high school when it all started. So I was born biologically a male.
Okay.
And my transformation all happened when I came to Japan.
Yeah.
So when I was in school, it was difficult for me to find the people that I can hang out and be friends with. Although there were so many that I see around, but because in the Philippines it's not like being open. It's just everyone's there, present, and you know that they're different, they're unique, like me, but we get bullied from being different.
Okay.
So we have to find our right peers or people to hang out in school, even not our classmates, right? So, and I'm lucky to be able to have those friends that I met where I hang out with them during after school or during our lunch, like recess or all that, right? Because being in school, I get bullied a lot from being different. And also...
That started in elementary school?
Elementary, yeah. Because I was different already. I thought already I'm different, but I didn't know what my real gender identity was back then. So and also being in my family where my relatives, my aunts and uncles, everyone like taking care of us, they didn't support what I wanted to be, although I'm still finding who am I.
What do you mean you're still finding who? Like
my real gender identity.
But you've already decided, haven't you?
I know that I wanted to be, I had the image of, I want to be like, so when I was like 6, 7, I watched Madonna. Right. Madonna is kind of an inspiration because she was so like, when you remember when she came out, like a virgin, and all that, I was just like, wow, that is so powerful, you know? And I admire her for being different from all the other
so
artists.
open and everything else. Okay.
Yeah, so I was...
Well, okay, then what about Prince? When you watched Prince?
I didn't really look Prince. I looked
They didn't
more,
do it?
Yeah, I looked Madonna more.
Okay. What about David Bowie?
No, I didn't look David Bowie too.
Okay.
So I really thought I really wanted to be an image of a woman.
A woman.
Yeah, that's what my image was. But my relatives didn't support me for doing that.
And you're also raised a Catholic.
I was raised
So
Catholic.
that's one of the biggest things because of Christianity.
Exactly.
Right.
My grandpa, which is raised during the World War, I don't know when, World War II.
Okay. Yes.
And he was so super strict, super strict. I'll tell you a story. One time when I was 6 years old, so that's when my mom left, and they live in the south part of the Philippines. So from Manila, me and my mom traveled, and my siblings, to go to where my grandpa and my grandma was, and she was born too, south part of the Philippines. And we were taking care of our grandpa and my grandma when she left. And my grandpa was so strict. And one time I was watching that Madonna video, and I was trying to copy her, like putting my towel on my hair, like just like in hair, like performing in front of my cousins.
Right.
And my cousins were just like so like clapping, like support, like clapping for me. And then he saw me, and then he just literally dragged me, and on the second floor is where we have our altar for for
the
Catholic,
Right.
And he put a salt grain on the floor. He said, "Kneel, and you're not gonna be leaving there unless you ask for forgiveness." And that's you're very Catholic, right?
Yes, yes.
So I was kneeling for I don't know how many,
hours.
But hours, because of what I did.
Right,
And
but he didn't hit you or beat you or anything, did he? He wasn't really cruel.
He does that too.
I know that.
It's normal.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, back. It was.
They did that to anyone. They did that to anybody. Yeah, I understand.
I think for them, that's how they raised kids.
Right. That's right. Right.
So that's
it's corporal punishment. Right.
So, but for me, I didn't understand. I thought it was like I just did wrong. I did wrong, and I have to.
How old were you then?
I was 6, 7, 6 years old.
Okay, so you're still young.
Very young.
See, it's funny that you're telling me about that right now, because there's a book that Oprah, Oprah?
Yes, I love Oprah.
She has a book out called "What Happened to You."
You need
to get it. You need to get it. I do it on books on tape, audio, and she talks about basically childhood trauma and what happens to you. And she had a very hard childhood. It made me start to bring up some things that I thought were pretty hard, and it makes me start wondering if I've done anything like that to my own children, because you just don't know. You're in the moment sometimes, and you think they'll understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, but then afterwards they turn 20 or 30 and look at you and say, "You remember what you did?" And you go, "What? I don't remember," because you were doing it to someone. You remember when it's done to you, and that's what gives me, I guess, relief when I think about my mother, because I want to know what happened to her.
So true.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
And she did the best she thought she could do. The same way your grandfather was doing with you. He was not trying to hurt you.
No,
he was trying to protect you.
Exactly.
The only way he knew. Right, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I didn't have any idea. And I'm glad you talk about that trauma thing, because I healed myself after, when I became like adult already, like when I was in late 20s, when I started to finally heal and go back to all my traumas and completely healed, and forgiveness and acceptance and love. And it was a long process, but it was all worth it. And that's when it all came to me, that when you said about the trauma and how you healed from everything, it's really important, because it's otherwise you're not going to be able to move on in your life, and
that's true.
It's not going to be easy for you.
Right. Like they say, isn't it something like they say, you have to learn how to forgive, love yourself, but you won't forget. But if you don't spend time thinking about it, you will forget. You just don't think about it. It's just like thinking about death every day. You know you're going to die, but do you really want to think about that every day? No. So some things are infinity. I remember as a kid, I loved math. And I remember I started thinking about infinity. I think it's something you need to leave alone, because you can never get, you know what I mean? Someone can always add one more. You can never get the highest number. So I think that too, forgiveness, forgive things you want to forgive, then forget about it. Do something more important. Start a podcast, or do something and talk about it. And just hit the surface. Don't get into it to where you have to have tears or anything, because you should have done that somewhere else. Right?
So true, yeah. So when my grandpa and my grandma passed away, I didn't want to see them, because for me, I was still, I think, in early 20s, and I thought, like, I hated them.
I got you.
I don't want to be there, even when they get buried and like all that, like have funeral, right? My mom was like, "Aren't you gonna come?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not."
Are they her parents or your father's parents?
My mom's parents.
Okay.
So I told her, "No, I can't. I don't have to be there. I can't." And there's no forgiveness, and it's just like hate, until even when they died, right? When they passed away. And so then realizing after all, like when I started to to do my healing is when I started to the forgiveness and all that, and I do meditate. So when I did all that process of healing of my childhood, during that process, like I imagine myself talking to them and having to understand like what they did to me was, you're right, like I that's what they can do, their best to protect me. So that's why when I'm talking to them, it was really that's where I cried so much during that healing process, but it was really worth it. And I felt like I can share and talk about my experiences with them as a respect for what they did.
Right, of course. And then, like I said, the thing that gives me comfort is when you asked yourself, what happened to them? It could have been so horrible, and they still, they were kind. Then you think they were really nice to me, because if they did what happened to them to you,
it would have been different.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Because corporal punishment was still, when they were growing up.
World War II.
That's right.
They're trying to survive, right?
That's right. Completely different. Okay, so tell me, from after high, you had trouble and issues when you were in elementary. It continued in junior high school. You don't have junior high school.
Yeah. After my grandpa, so we didn't last for my grandpa because they were so strict, and then my mom came back, and then we were. My mom has 7, 8 siblings.
Well, where were you? Where was your father? He wasn't a part of the picture.
He was there, but he couldn't support us because his job was a security guard, and he couldn't even support himself, right? So he was there, like visiting us every now and then, and he was one of our comforts. Like I feel comfortable if I feel like I have that love every time he visits.
Really?
Yeah, because
even if he knew that you were a little different.
Yeah, because he's been really comforting. He was so nice. He was so kind. He knows for a fact that he can support us money because that's what my mom actually giving us. But he was there. He wasn't like absent most of the time because my mom was like will come back like once a year or not even once a year.
Oh, because she's going outside country?
Here in Japan.
Oh, she was coming to Japan.
He was here, he was already here. So the one that we can only talk, feel comfortable about is my dad.
So how's your mother now?
They're not like hate each other, but like they're okay.
But is your father still alive?
He's still in the Philippines.
He's in the Philippines.
He's with my other siblings.
Okay.
And they're not like totally. They're okay. Because I think my mom came back to the Philippines before COVID, and they've seen each other. And my sibling told me about. They were just fine. They were just talking, and it's nothing like like hate between them. Like it's because of you. Like not that anymore. Although my mom still up until now, the reason like he's talking a lot about why she left us because of my dad, and she was a good
Oh, she's saying that, so she's blaming it on him.
Everything, everything's on my dad.
He's sitting back there going, "Why me?" Wait.
Yeah, but funny thing is, she never sees that her absence is also what we needed.
But she knew you needed money, though.
Exactly.
She said, "Look, she has this, and a mother's love for her kids. They'll do anything."
Yeah.
Anything. She said, as much as it's tearing her apart, she said, "I'm going to go away, but I'm going to make sure my kids survive." Yeah.
And she really did an amazing job about it, She really wants us to have like a good career, good finish our studies, and all that. But yeah, deep down inside, we're really struggling because we were raised by different relatives which were not even feel comfortable. And all those relatives wants to take care of us because she
wasn't
basically sending money.
Oh, right.
That's why they want to take care of us.
I got you.
And then I understand that part, but then why would you not treat us like a family if you are being supported by my mom? Which is they actually treated us.
Oh, I see.
They treated us like maids. Like
I got
in
you.
the
I
house.
understand.
Like you should clean this, you should do that, you should do that. So we were like,
wait, hold
we were
on.
always crying, and the only escape that we can go is my dad. Every time he visits, like I would tell him everything. I would cry. I would tell him like, we really need to get out, and we just like want to be with you. And I done that for several times, like escaping from my relatives because we couldn't handle it anymore.
Right.
And then I would remember, I was very young. I was still in probably 8, 9 years old. Imagine in Manila, like how it's a very dangerous city.
I know.
And then when you go around as a young child, like going around not knowing where you're going, because I'm trying to find my dad.
Right.
Like
Oh, that's what you look
lives.
at. Oh, I see.
But he would give, every time he would visit us, he would give his address or phone number. But back then, no phones, right? So I would always just find the address, like find his address, and it's not as like Google Maps.
Right. You had to guess. You had to guess and ask people, right?
Yeah. So it was really difficult in the beginning, and then I realized the next time he come visit us, I really have to go with him and see where he lives, and then
come back.
He'd send me back, and then I would remember.
That's right.
So that's what I did. And then
After how many times? How many times?
So many times.
You had so many
couldn't count.
No, I'm not talking about running away. How many times did you run away without knowing where he lived? How many times did you do that?
Only a few times.
Okay.
And then I realized
Did
that
you
I
never
have
follow
to,
him
have
there?
to we have to follow him next time.
Yeah, right.
And then when he always gets surprised, like, why are you here?
You sit there.
Yeah. And then I would eventually cry, and I would share everything, like what what's happening in the house. And I would always tell him, like, just get my other siblings, and we just want to be with you. And I think until he realized, when I told him, it doesn't matter like where we live, how poor area we're gonna be,
That's how you're being
just
treated.
to be with you, and I will feel safe, and that's gonna be fine. And I think that's the realization came to him, and he's just like, okay, let's find this place, and like what you said, it doesn't have to be like the amount that I'm, because he's a security guard.
Right, I got you.
Really
But you wanted the
support
love.
us.
You wanted, like you said, security. Someone you knew that was your blood,
Yeah.
that wouldn't treat you like a maid.
Yeah,
they had
and
no feelings
my
for
mom put us in private schools, but I even told him, like, it doesn't have to be private school. We can
Right.
go to public school,
Yeah.
and we don't care as long as we're together. And then when he started to really think about it, and then he took us.
Oh, he did?
He did. And
I
then
bet it's the
mom,
best of your life. How old were you?
I was in high school.
Okay, but I
I
bet
was
you
in
felt
high school.
so happy after all that
So
struggle.
happy.
Oh,
I was like so happy. So like I finally felt the relief.
yes.
And but then there's another thing that I'm struggling because of my gender identity.
Right. Okay.
I can't really open up to him, even though he knew.
Oh, really? So he knew.
He knew that I was different.
He knew that you were feminine.
Yeah, he knew that
You're
I'm
feminine, right?
slow,
You
like
didn't
the way I
say-
move.
right.
But he never supported me of like,
He
okay,
kn-
like or talk to me about it.
He never tried to suppress you or make you feel bad about yourself.
No, never.
It's wonderful when you have a person around you like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how my father was.
Mm-hmm.
He made me feel, not because of gender identity, I always felt that if there's a such thing as reincarnation, sometimes they say you come back a man, then a woman, then a man, then a woman. I think I came back a man, and a man. I love being a man. I love it. I can't think of it. Really, and I've never been confused or questioned my identity about what I like. So I don't know. I like that. But my father always made me feel like people liked me. And he always made me feel like I was, he never questioned, he just was a good guy. It's good when you meet people like that. Yes.
Same with my father. Like he was been there, but he never questioned me. But he knows. But he just like, it was just there. And I was still processing of like finding my real gender identity in high school, where I found all this. Like I was discussing earlier about these friends that I met through volleyball, because a lot of them, they love playing volleyballs.
A lot of men?
A lot of
Transsexual, well, the people that were questioning their identity.
Yeah.
They love volleyball.
They love volleyball.
Wait, tell me, so you're going to tell me a secret. So
I don't know what it is, but in the Philippines, a lot of them, they go for volleyball.
Volleyball,
because you can't go for basketball.
Well, can't they do
very
soccer?
manly.
What about soccer? Isn't that
It's
another
also
area?
and we don't have soccer in the Philippines.
Oh, you don't?
I don't think so. We had basketball,
Volleyball, baseball.
I don't think we have baseball.
You don't have baseball? You don't do baseball?
No.
Football? American football?
We don't have that
no.
too.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's very selected sports
Right,
that we
so
have.
sports. Okay, but team sports, those are the team sports.
Yeah.
Basketball, volleyball.
I think we have swimming.
You're swimming, yeah, but that's not team sport.
Yeah,
that's a little bit different.
yeah. So I think, there's not many. There's not many.
But really, it's a lot. So that was a
so
big
a lot
thing.
of them we would go to volleyball and we gather and we just like play and we just like, it was just so much fun to have that community.
The community, right? And nobody said anything, but everybody knew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone's so feminine, but like,
Right.
you know,
Right.
like, yeah. So it was really fun to have that community. And then some of them, I have them as a community for dancing. So we form a group we have this one choreographer that forms us to do a dance choreographies to join dance contests. Because in the Philippines we have those, here in Japan we have the matsuri, like festivals.
Right.
So every town has festivals, and what we do, we have this choreographed dance routines, and we will join those contests, and we always win. So that's like escape of me, because at home I can't be who I am. Although my father knew, but I can't be really like, exactly who I wanted to be. So I don't know if he will approve it.
Right. You and you don't want to lose that love.
I don't. Yeah, I don't want to lose that love from my dad. So
does he know now?
He knew everything after I came back to Japan. Before I transformed, I always let them know. I always let him know, and I let my sister know, and my sister let him know.
And so, have you seen him since you transformed?
He did, yeah, of course. I came back home. I would go back home once in a while, but not as much as I have to be. And he completely saw me. He completely.
But how was this?
He was okay. He was just like.
But how old were you at that time?
I'm already in my early 20s when I came here, right? So, and then after I came back, and then he saw the transformation, and he was just like, it's your life, I can't judge or whatever, like as long as you're happy, as long as you're not gonna forget God. He's very Catholic too. As long as you're always gonna go and I always pray for you, like just don't forget to pray, and be in touch with God, whatever you do in your life. And it's been with me. I've been Catholic. I love being Catholic because I have that safe space of,
It's like a deeper meditation.
Yeah, and because then we don't have meditation back then, right? So that's like, I feel really safe if I go to church and I just talk directly to God. And
the Franciscan chapel? Over here in Roppongi, this one?
Yeah, in Roppongi. I've been there too, but I love the one in Yotsuya.
Which one is that?
Yotsuya is one in right next to Sophia University.
Oh, Jochi, right next to the big one. Oh, I've never been inside that. I've never been inside that. I bet it's beautiful inside. I bet it is.
So big, yeah. Wow. So that's one of my favorite churches here in Japan that I go. And every time that I would just like go, I feel really, like you feel like so comfortable and just like relaxed, and it's such a safe space for me. And I don't have anything that happened to me when I was a kid, like, because a lot of them they say like, although in the Bible they say like only man and woman, right? Like we always say that. But I didn't have that bully when I was in school and being a Catholic and going to church. I didn't have that. I think in the Philippines it was kind of not. It was not really talked about that if you're different, if you're gay, if you're trans, you're not allowed to go to church. It's not like that. Like it's. So when I was in school, in high school, I was in a choir. I was a member of choir and for Catholic school, and I was also a member of this youth movement for Catholic. And I've always been, being Catholic. I've always been Catholic. I love being Catholic, but yeah, like and it helped me. It helped me also in that part of being just in touch with my religion and that core of having that in you. Like what you said, we don't have that back then, the meditation.
Right. But that was a form of it, right?
Yeah, so that was a form of it, and I really felt safe.
That's good. Yeah. So, but the big thing you told me about was volleyball. So volleyball, that was an area where all of you could get together. What other things did you do? The dancing, what kind of dancing? You're talking about dancing.
Yeah, it was more of like, dance, like a jazz dance.
Okay.
Because in the Philippines, everyone loves to dance.
Yes.
Either you're a dancer or a singer.
And sing. That's
Yeah.
right. Everyone loves to dance and
I'm
sing.
not a singer, but I'm a dancer. If you can dance, you can sing. If you can sing, you can dance.
That's right. Is that right?
Yeah. So I love dancing. So ever since I was a small kid, I've always been dancing. I love dancing.
All right. So so then you graduate from college. Would you?
I didn't graduate college.
Oh, you
I
didn't
was
graduate
in
college.
second year college when my mom told me, you have to come here.
So she can adopt you.
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, we're not going to be able to adopt you and you can't live here. You can come, but you cannot live in Japan.
Okay.
But the reason why I came here, in the Philippines, is so Americanized. All the TV that we watch, the films that we watch are from America. And I was so fascinated with America, like American Dream. And I love all the MTVs and all that shows. And I thought, maybe that's the way I can go from Japan to America. Instead of because it's not going to be easy for you from coming from the Philippines straight to America. So I thought, if I'm going to live in Japan, or if I'm going to go to Japan first, then I think that's going to be the way to go to America. That was my plan.
Right, okay, I got you.
That was my plan. And
because you wanted to end up living in America at that time.
I wanted to go to America.
Yes, okay.
But I'm glad I came here first, and then when I was traveling, I realized how lucky I am being
to be here to talk to me. You said, hey, I'm going, that was a close one. Because if you'd have gone straight there and lived there, it'd been a whole different story.
Yeah, I love America though.
Yeah, but it just has a little bit more drama than some people need to deal with on a regular basis. I love America too. I love Disneyland as well. But would you want to live there? You see what I'm saying? Everything's expensive. I mean, after a while, it's a little bit overwhelming, America. But Japan is just like,
very peaceful and the safety. I didn't have that safety when I was in the Philippines.
And you wouldn't have it necessarily if you went, to America either. It depends on where you go.
Exactly, and that's when I realized that, wow, it can be dangerous in America too. I never thought about it because the only thing that they showed in the media is America.
That's the only thing you looked at. That's the only thing you looked at.
And that's what I saw. Like I thought, it would be great to be in America.
So when you came to Japan, how long were you here? You've been here for how long now?
26,
7 years.
Yeah.
How long were you here before you finally got a chance to go to America?
I think it was 3-4 years after, and I told my mom I need to get a visa to go to America. I just want to go visit.
Okay.
And then we went together to American Embassy to get a visa, and it was so easy because
you're Japanese. You're a Japanese citizen now.
Yeah, so it's not hard. Because I've heard in the Philippines, if you want to get a visa to go to America,
not gonna happen.
It takes forever.
Yeah, and you better have some cash too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that too. And here it was just interview. You just have to show up, and you just have to show that you're really working here and live here. And then they granted me for 10-year visa the first time, and that had been every time. Expired 10-year visa, I would get to go to the U.S.
Wow. So so when you went, where did you go in the States?
The first time where did I go?
Did you go by yourself?
Question. The first time I think I went by myself. I think so, but I already had friends.
Did you know?
America
I was going to say. You knew someone? Yeah.
Yeah.
So where'd you go? East Coast, West Coast? Where'd you go first?
I'm not sure if I went to New York or LA first.
Okay.
It was either of those places I went. I think maybe LA because I really want to see Hollywood, right? That's in my dream. Oh no, wait! I think I went to visit my aunts and uncles. Cause I have a relative, my mom's cousin in America, and they live in Oregon.
Okay, so you went upstate. You went up to Oregon first.
Yeah.
So there's nothing up there.
Yeah, so in
So
Oregon,
you
Portland,
said, okay.
Oregon.
All right.
First time
So you stayed there. That's the only place. Then you came back.
I think I went to Portland, Oregon. I think I went back, and then I told myself I want to go to LA next time.
Yeah. Okay.
And then that's when I went to LA by myself.
Right.
But yeah, the first time I was with my visiting my relatives, and I was just really wow, this is nice. But at the same time, realizing it more. And then sometimes I would go with my friends to travel in America. There's this one friend I always hang out. We went to New York and LA, and she's also trans.
Okay, but was she? But at that time, you guys weren't. At the time you were going there, had you already made your transformation?
I didn't. I already had my breast implants. And,
Okay, all right.
then,
So you had that, okay.
Yeah, but not like completely.
Right, completely,
surgery.
right.
But my other friend, she's full
She
on,
already
like,
was.
Yeah, and even her passport is female, everything. So everything, so she can't even have, and she also have the Japanese passport. She's Filipino too, but she transformed to Japanese. Because I think if you're Japanese, it's easier for you to change everything.
Okay.
Because in the Philippines we can, because it's very Catholic.
Wait, you can't?
You can.
So where do you go to do it?
No, it has to be like the same name and same gender that you have.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, but I'm talking about when you have the operation. Where do you have
of course you can change everything, but
in the Philippines.
Yeah, in the Philippines we didn't have the surgeon. I did it in Thailand.
Okay, that's probably the better place. The best.
Yeah,
place.
and when I'm talking about a passport, I can't change my name or real name and my gender, even though I did everything.
Right.
Because we don't have that rule in the Philippines that even though you change.
Oh, you have to stay the way you came in this world.
We don't have that. So for her, she changed her passport to Japanese.
Oh, so that
she
can
do
change
everything.
Right. Have you done that yet?
I want to do it.
Okay.
But it kind of pushed me back a little bit when my mom told me that whatever properties she have in the Philippines, I can have if I change my passport to Japanese, because I'll be Japanese already, and I'm not gonna have the rights to be having the rights from the properties from the Philippines anymore.
Okay, so you have that issue. So you're still in limbo.
But I really want to. It just takes time, and also the right lawyer, the right to process it, because it's not gonna be like
that's right.
Right? Like I think I've heard in America it's like so easy, but here it also takes time to process.
When you say here, you mean Japan?
Japan, yeah.
Okay, but the Philippines is what you're concerned about, right?
Yeah, but exactly. That's another concern thing, that if I really want to give up my citizenship as a Filipino.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I love my country and I don't want to give up my citizenship. But if that's the only choice, if that's going to be not going to put me in so many troubles, then I can definitely go for a Japanese passport, which makes me,
it makes it real easy for you.
Yeah, easy for me and more safety.
Right. Okay, so you traveled. Where are some of the places you've traveled to? Some of the places that you really enjoy traveling to?
In America?
In the world?
Oh, I've been to so many places. Not in Europe yet, which I would love to go to Europe.
You haven't been to Europe yet?
Not yet, but that's one of the places that I would love to explore.
Okay.
But I've been to most parts of Asia. I've been to the main cities in America. I've been to Cuba. I've been to Mexico.
Canada?
Canada, not yet. I would love to go to Canada. So
Right.
I've heard so much amazing things about Canada.
Right. So you still have a lot of traveling that you want to do.
I still
want to do a lot of
traveling I want to do. Yeah, but I focus on traveling in America that much because I think I have that visa that I like 10 years. I mean, I don't have to, because if you're a Philippine passport, you have to have a visa in every country because a Philippines is a third world country and you need a visa every time. And sometimes it's not easy to process a visa, right, for applying. So I think for me it's the convenience of like, oh, I have already a visa in America, why not just go in America? But I love America in a way that I can escape of like too much work or like too much things going on in Japan. That I can escape a little bit and be like, oh, it's nice in America for 1 week and then
That's right. That's how I look at it too. Because you can enjoy things there that you can't enjoy here. And you have the fact that nobody knows you as well. This is really a small island.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everyone.
Very true.
So what are some of your plans for the future, Tiffany?
My plan for the future is to be more, I just started advocating and talking about my community, the LGBTQ community, especially for my trans brothers and sisters in the community. I wanted to be vocal more and share my experiences more, my stories more. And that's one other thing of being a life coach that I've learned, that I can actually do it for others. So the transformation that I went through in surviving, because there are still many from the trans community that still having a hard time transforming, like from what they did in the past and how they would overcome it, and how can be there other ways.
Right.
Because a lot of a lot of, I'm not going to say in general, but a lot of them, they just go on for prostitution.
They get into the sex trade somehow.
Yeah, like a lot of and which is sad, right? Like for a person to have more skills and knowledge that they can share, they would just like go for that easy. I mean, I wouldn't say easy job, but for them, that's the only way that they can go.
Yes.
So I want to show like being an entrepreneur too. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. Entrepreneur.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. That you can also do something like not just being in the sex trade.
Right.
And have your skills used and knowledge.
Well, I know you don't have children of your own, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Have
That's the concern that I think a lot of parents go through, and something I've thought about several times. It seems like because your community is very, very vocal now, and there's so much media now, do you think that it can somewhat be, let's say for example, if you were told about sexual things when you're really young, when we're trying to figure out who we are, that you could have, do you think some kids can be influenced to think that there's something they're not just because it's out in the media? You know what I mean? What would you have been like if you didn't see Madonna, maybe? I mean, would there, you understand what I'm saying?
It's really interesting that you ask that.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe, what if you saw someone who was maybe a little bit more male, a David Bowie, and that's all you got to see, but you found out he really was masculine. What would have happened to you then? Because most definitely it's something that triggered in you, but was that really? You were an adult before you decided to make the transformation, right? A lot of people are doing it to their kids while they're young, before they become adults. And I know I'm pretty sure you're quite aware of the high suicide rate of transsexuals, people that have made the operation, but they did it too young, and get older and realize it's really, it wasn't for them.
Yeah, I agree.
And they made that decision and it really wasn't for them. So they saw that star, they saw someone, and it influenced them for the time, but that was just like a fad. But we're talking about real life. I've seen kids before that, some kids you can see and you think, yes, okay, they're something's different about them. And you can see that. But I don't know where it's going to go. We have to be very careful with someone's sexuality. I say that now, but because of technology and the amount of information we have, maybe it'll only be 10 years from now when you can be whatever you want to be. If I want to be a squirrel, I can be a squirrel tomorrow or whatever. Because really, we're getting to that stage. There's only two things I think that's going to happen to man within the next 20 years, 30 years. Either we're going to wipe ourselves out as a species on this planet, or we're going to learn how to live forever. We're going to have the technology to be able to live indefinitely. It won't stop you from being hit by a bus, but basically we'll be able to live indefinitely. I think only those two things are going to happen within the next about 3 to 4 decades. Within our lifetime, I should put it that way. We're there. We can change everything. Look, you're a good example of it. Who would have ever thought in their wildest dreams, and you look like you're stable, you're confident, you feel good about who you are, who would have ever thought that you could have come in this world, one sex, and changed the other?
Yeah.
Never.
Never, yeah.
And we have technology to do it. It's unreal. Everything in our body can be changed right now except for our brain. That's the truth.
True, yeah.
And we're getting so close with computer technology that we're getting to the point of singularity, to where the computers will be just as sharp as us. And who's to say we won't be able to put it there? But then what's a spirit? We don't know yet. And if we're able to do that, we can be robots for the rest, I can be talking to you through these cameras and stuff, and I say, yeah, you remember Tiffany? Meeting somewhere. You never know. But that's what I think is happening in the future. Just don't know. And we're in the perfect country because robotic-wise, Japan's so advanced. Yes. And they're quiet about it, though. They make the rest of Boston Electronics or whatever it is that thinks they're so... Come on, Japan had that a long time ago. Yeah. Okay, so that's what you see for the future?
I see like what the living back for like 20 years ago, comparing it now, it's such a big transformation for everyone. I couldn't even talk about my gender identity before. I was so scared, but now you can.
And you had a right to be.
Yeah. So now, it's. I mean, it's so good to see that in the media that a lot of representation now is happening. But although in Japan, it still needs to do more to, to have that representation, because Japan's always behind when it comes to that, right?
Yeah.
America's always the first, and
They tend to be.
Yeah, so I really hope that Japan can really follow soon, and that's the reason why I want to be vocal about myself in Japan, living in Japan as a trans for the LGBTQ community, because I think Japan needs more of representation.
Do you think there are a lot of transsexuals here? I mean, you would know. Are there a lot here?
There's a lot, and there's also a lot that doesn't even want to come out.
Of course they won't, yeah.
Yeah.
They wouldn't come out. They won't say anything. Because they're of that age and of that bracket. They've had so much happen to them. They figure, why not? Well, that's why I was suggesting you at the beginning. But anyway, so you've done it. So we'll see where we go with this. I hope we take it. But I think you're really brave, Tiffany, to be able to do this. And I think the time is coming for people to be able to say more of who they really are and what they really feel and stuff. Because it shouldn't bother anyone else, really, as to how you feel about who you are, as long as you're not trying to push that on someone else. If you feel comfortable being the way that you are, that's good. And that's something I like about Japan. The Japanese feel like this. You're not Japanese, it's your business. But if you're Japanese, it becomes theirs.
You're welcome.
Tiffany, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for taking this time. It's been really good.
I really appreciate it, and I'm really a fan of your show. I've been watching your episodes, and you've been. I just want to say that you've been doing a great job of like sharing other people's experience and stories, and it's really important. And now I think, like what you said, it's really the time before the time really comes. It's a good way of preparation of like having these voices heard, and thank you for doing your amazing work.
Oh, thank you.
I'm really grateful to be part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of you watching this podcast, make sure you press like, subscribe, and never forget, it's all unknown. Continue to reach for the stars, and you're too blessed to be stressed.